Hello and welcome back to Well Driven. It's been a while. I know I've been teasing on social media for best part of a year really that I'd be coming back and maybe doing some video content, but as is always the way, life got in the way. And then I know that a couple of months ago I put another post out saying I was hoping to start making some more video content, but again I then moved house, opened a new business, moved into that business, and then it's just been a bit non-stop since then. But things are looking a bit clearer now. My business is up and running, it's going really smoothly, so I've now got a bit more time on my hands to start focusing on what I really love doing, and that is talking about cars and stuff. So I guess to give you a bit of a understanding of what's going to be coming up, I don't know how regularly I'm going to be doing this. I'm hoping to do it quite regularly, but it all depends on time, if I've got anything good for content, but who knows. We're not going to be a well-polished, exciting, kind of supercars on racetracks type of channel. Unfortunately, those days of me reviewing Rolls Royces and things like that are over now, but they were good times, so it's not a bad thing. However, what I would like to do as a kind of an opener to this new era of the Well Driven YouTube channel is talk about kind of what I'm doing in my life with cars, what if there have been and what changes there are, and then kind of go on from there. Also, the sun is absolutely glorious today, but it's about 7 o'clock and it's shining right in my face, so hence why every now and then there is a shadow of my camera across the front of my face, but never mind, hopefully it's not too bad. I think a good place to start is by talking about the car I'm in, which is not a new car. My partner and I, we bought it back in tail end of last year. It is a 2004 Porsche Cayenne. It is the 3.2 kind of VW derived R32 engine, the V6 petrol. It's got about 250 brake. This particular car's done just over 117,000 miles. So when we bought it, it had 101,000 miles, and we've already done a fair bit of travel in it. To give you an example, we picked the car up on a Sunday, and at 5 a.m. Friday morning we were in Folkestone, boarding the train to drive over to Europe, where we did a 2,000 mile round trip over 2 weeks through France, over to Monaco in Italy, up to Switzerland, and then back to the UK. And even after only having the car for 4 days and not really necessarily maybe doing all my homework and making sure that it was going to be reliable, I just kind of had faith. It just had a service, just had new brakes and everything before I bought it, so I was fairly confident. But it didn't skip a beat. It was fantastic. Bar a suicidal pheasant in France about 4 hours into our trip that took out an entire headlight for the whole journey. But never mind, hey? The car itself, when we bought it, we did a lot of searching. I wanted one that had been well looked after and had kind of the mechanical underpinnings were good. There's a lot of Porsche Cayennes for sale now, and they're a bit like the old L322s where they were going for a couple of grand. There were loads of bargains to be had, but there were also lots of horror stories, lots of headaches, lots of issues. So we kind of searched high and low and looked at a few before we settled on this one. Cosmetically, this wasn't what we were looking for to start with. It had been owned by someone who turned it into a bit of an overlander, so it had these 16-inch Mercedes wheels with outrageous knobbly tyres that sounded like a tractor on the main roads through France. It had a roof rack with so many LED lights bolted onto it that we quickly took them off the day we brought it home, and a few other bits like some interesting vinyl graphics, should we say, down the side. But the important thing was the service history stacked up. It was full, it was plentiful. We had it serviced before we collected the car. It had a fresh, clean MOT, and all those bits have been well looked after. And the guy who owned it, despite his his kind of garnishes that he put on the car, he loved it and he looked after it, and that was really what we wanted, because I'd rather get one that's a little bit tatty cosmetically but solid underneath than the other way around. So as you'll see, we'll do some shots of the outside. It's got a few battle scars here and there, a few dings. The pheasant strike in France took out not only the headlight on the passenger side, but also a big chunk of the wing. But we are getting that sorted this year. And that's something else to talk about. It's kind of my plans for the car. It's not going to be a long-termer, I don't think. We'll probably keep it a couple of years, maybe less. But while I have got it, I kind of want to take it back to its original factory glory and get some of the paintwork tarted up, get a few other bits done, and hopefully it'll look really good when it goes. Modification wise, it had a bit, like I said, it had a bit of work done to it before we bought it. One of the things is it's got a Porsche Cayenne turbo bonnet. So unlike the standard Cayenne and Cayenne S bonnets, the turbo bonnet has these kind of lovely kind of groove ridges on either side that just makes it look a little bit more aggressive, which I'm a big fan of, and I think that really kind of makes the front of the car look a bit nicer. Other than that, it's all fairly standard. It's got roof rails, it's got the quite rare Porsche factory option of the factory side steps. I have chucked on some all-terrain tyres. Like I said, when it came, it had these horrendous knobbly tyres on where the road noise was horrific. I then swapped these out for a set of genuine Porsche 19-inch wheels that was on some Michelin all-weather tyres, but it was kind of the opposite then. The road noise was the other way. It was quite a firm ride, it was quite uncomfortable, and they were just, the tyres and wheels that I bought, the tyres weren't quite as fresh as I would have hoped. So after a few months in those, decided the best thing to do would be to swap them out for some new tyres, and that's when I decided to go for all-terrains. So on my previous Land Rovers, my Discovery 3, my P38 Range Rover and my L322 Range Rover, I had Grabber AT3 general tyres put on them, because they were a brilliant all-around all-terrain tyre, the kind of tyre that you can use on the road quite regularly, and they're really comfy and they're not too bad for fuel economy and road noise. But if you wanted to, you could also have a bit of fun off-road. And where I live, I'm really lucky in that out here in Cambridgeshire, we've got loads of green lanes that all open up in the next couple of weeks as well. I'm right now driving down one that's open all year round. It's more of a dirt track this than a green lane, but it's a great place to come and get some footage. So yeah, I looked at some general AT3 tyres, and then someone I know in the Land Rover community was talking about how they put some Falcon Wild Peak trail tyres on their Discovery 4, and they were really impressed with them. So I thought I'd have a look. I then spoke to our local garage who does a lot of work for us and asked him about prices, and he managed to get a really good price on a full set of those. So we thought we'd try them out, and I've now done about 1,000 miles in them, which 100% on road so far, and they've just been really good. They're a really solid tyre, they're really comfortable, they don't seem to be kind of noisy or anything like that on the road. There seems to be no detriment to the overall ride quality from having all-terrains on over the Michelins that were on it before. And from what I've read, they're a really good, sturdy off-road tyre as well for the kind of stuff I'm going to be doing. You know, there seem to be two camps of the Porsche Cayenne ownership fraternity, and one of them are the kind of ones you want to make these fast sports SUVs, so they go for 21, 22-inch wheels, low-profile tyres, and things like that. Or the other end of the scale, who chuck them on huge suspension lifts, great big off-road tyres, and make these proper overlanders, because actually these cars are really, really good off-road. I think they're kind of a dark horse in the kind of the entry-level, cheap, older SUV market now. The L322 values seem to be going through the roof. They're a bit of a hidden gem, I find, the Cayenne right now, and I think they're only going to go up in the future. But yeah, so there were those two types, the off-roaders and the more kind of sporty approach to things, and I sit firmly in the middle. There's no point in making the car look fast when I know it's got a little wheezy 250 brake horsepower V6 under the bonnet. It's not a turbo, it's not a V8, it's never going to be winning drag races off the lights. However, I also don't want to make this big, brash, full-on off-roader overlander vehicle when I know full well that I'm never going to use it to its full capability and do any of that. I just don't have the time or have the kind of lifestyle that fits in with that. I will go green laning every now and then, like I am now, but I'm never going to be taking it to off-road places or driving it across big mountain ranges through Spain and stuff like that. I'm just going to treat it like a normal car, and when I can take it down a muddy track, I probably will. So the all-terrains just fit perfectly in the middle. One thing the car has had in the previous life was a slight suspension lift, so it's got the air suspension, the factory air suspension, and I think the previous owner said it's had about a 1-inch lift all around, so each setting it sits an inch higher than it does from factory. And to be honest, you can't really tell the difference. It's just good for a bit of ground clearance if you need it. And again, I don't really have any plans to change that. One thing I might do is revert it back to standard, because I think that might actually be a bit better for it, for kind of longevity of the suspension, because I know that, like all cars of this age, this is 22 years old this year, air suspension can be a bit woeful. I had to replace the air compressor in my P38 and my L322, and I had all kinds of issues with the previous Audi A6 Allroad with air suspension. In fact, I think the only cars I ever had that didn't have problems with air suspension were my CL500 Mercedes, my S-Class Mercedes, and my Discovery 3. They were all flawless from kind of day one to when I sold them on. But touch wood with the Cayenne, like I say, we've done well over 10,000 miles in it in the first 8 months of ownership, less than that I think, and so far it hasn't had any problems apart from a couple of light bulbs, new tyres, and I say a new headlight after the other one was unfortunately taken out. But yeah, I also know that there are horror stories about Cayennes and people aren't always fans of them, and there are questionable bits of reliability. But again, I think we were relatively smart when we bought this one, because again, the V8s are the ones that have the problems. The turbo can be tricky with just the added advantage of turbos. They can go wrong and they can cause catastrophic engine issues. Whereas the V6, it being the VW 3.2 VR6 unit, is pretty reliable. It's been reliable for a long time. I mean, think about the Mark IVs and the Mark V Golfs that ran this engine in. So it's a pretty safe bet to think engine-wise I'm going to be in fairly safe territory. Now, obviously, I've said that before about other cars, and then they've turned around and had their way and bitten me square in the backside. So I'm hoping this isn't one of those cars, because hopefully it knows how much I really, really like it. But yeah, ownership experience so far, it's been great, to be honest. It's a really comfy SUV. It's not as comfy as my L322, obviously, because they're a completely different kind of ballpark when it comes to SUVs and off-roaders. But it's as comfortable as my Discovery 3. I think the seats are actually a bit nicer. Discovery seats have always felt a bit firm and not particularly kind of forgiving, especially when you're off-road as well, whereas these have been really good actually. They're really comfy seat. Like I said, we were doing kind of 6-7 hour driving stints through Europe, never got tired, never had an aching back, never thought, oh god, I can't wait to pull over and get out. It was always a really pleasurable experience. And the only real downside that I've noticed with the car in general is the fuel economy. I thought it was bad in Europe because of the tyres. So when I got home and sourced the new wheels and tyres, the road noise instantly disappeared. So I knew that was a part of it, and that was great. But the fuel economy unfortunately remained pretty poor. And a lot like a lot of cars, the trip on here tends to lie through its teeth and be very optimistic about what a full tank gets you. So I think when I was looking to buy one on paper, they were saying the V6 gets around kind of 28 to the gallon if driven comfortably and sparingly. And I've become a bit of an old man now, I'll be honest. I'm not a boy racer. I don't gun it at the lights. I don't, push it past the speed limit on motorways. I live quite a comfy life now, where I just kind of plod along in the left-hand lane quite happily. And even then, I'm looking at early 20s on the MPG, which is pretty bad. I mean, it's a big tank. It's well over £100 to fill with today's fuel prices. When you fill the tank up, every time it goes 500 mile range, and you think, oh, brilliant, this time's going to be the 500 mile range. And then you get to about 300 miles, and the engine light, the fuel light comes on saying you've got 100 miles of range left, which we all know means you've got 60 miles of range left. So really, you're lucky to get kind of 350, 360 miles to a full tank. And I think even that is being very, very generous with the car. So, I don't know. That is a downside. Again, one of the plus sides is a 2004 car, so it's the lower road tax bracket, which is nice. It's also so cheap to insure. My 2014 diesel Audi A3 was £100 a year more than this cost to insure. I know I'm getting old now, so it's probably one of the reasons, but even so, it's really not a bad car to insure, which is great news. And yeah, it's just a really nice car. It's definitely a lot sportier kind of to drive than a Land Rover. The steering feels a little bit tighter. The overall kind of body, it is a bit stiffer. It's nowhere near as sumptuous as, say, a Range Rover or a Range Rover Sport. But it's still not a bad place. But that also means that on the B roads around me, you can still have a bit of fun. Like, you don't think you're just in this big high up tractor. There is plenty of room to have a little play, have a little fun, and see where it goes. So yeah, all in all, like a few months in, I really love this car. I also love that it was really good value. Like I say, I didn't buy one of the £2.5 grand ones that I saw on Auto Trader and got tempted by. I did pay more than that, but I think I did the right thing, and we bought one that was solid, and say so far so good. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. And then say plans moving forward with it, just to give it a tidy up. The interior is looking really tidy. The previous owner fitted a slightly temperamental aftermarket CarPlay unit. It does the job 80% of the time. It doesn't like it when me and my partner are both in the car. It can't work out which phone it wants to pair up to. That can be a bit frustrating. And once it did let me down in the centre of London on my way home from a gig quite late one night, and I had to basically guess my entire journey home. But in general, I'll say it again, it's been pretty solid. I've seen how much these are to replace, and those head units are like a couple of £100, so you kind of are getting what you pay for. I would love to have one of the new Porsche OEM upgraded head units for this, but I also want to pay my rent and eat and actually run this car as well, so that's kind of on the back burner along with anything else that wants like that. But yeah, it needs a bit of paint. Bumpers are a bit tatty around the edges. It's clearly been off-road in its past, as a few other little bits. And I say I need to replace a wing, but fortunately the damage isn't too bad that if you don't know it's there, you don't really see it. But unfortunately, I know it's there. I see this car every day, so I'd see it all the time. So yeah, that's it for the Cayenne for now. As for what's coming up with the YouTube channel, with Well Driven, with me, I am going to some events soon. I've got a couple of car events coming up. I'll be at Heveningham Concours at the Heveningham Country Fair at the end of June with my family. It's probably my favourite show of the year. I didn't go for a few years, then went back last year, and it was as good, if not better, than the previous times. And it's just a really great place to see some really special cars and catch up with some really cool people. So I'll be going to that. I also have a few kind of weekend car meets and things coming up too. And as a part of my day job, I own a co-working space with my partner in the town we live in. And a part of that offering is we built a podcast studio. And we're recording a local podcast for businesses. But one thing I really want to do is get back into talking about cars, because in case you hadn't noticed, I'm a lot more comfortable talking about cars on without my face being visible than I am behind in front of the lens. I'm really not a fan, but I'm doing this because I love cars and love talking about them, and hopefully other people will appreciate that and hopefully get involved. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing another car podcast soon. Those who know me from way back, I did one back in 2019 with Sprite Photography, Rick, when he was doing a load of stuff for me as well, and we had one called 3 Car Garage, and it was really good fun. And obviously COVID happened, which made it even more fun, because otherwise we weren't leaving the house, we had an excuse to talk to anybody. So once a week we had a chat, and it'd be really nice to get something like that up and running again. So really, in the meantime, all I'm going to do is just say, like, thank you. Hopefully you haven't all switched off now and gone, oh God, here we go. And yeah, I think it could be quite fun. We're not going big budget here. We're going low budget, kind of slapdash. That's the way I do things. Not rehearsed, no scripts. I just like to talk about cars and what's going on in my life at the moment. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch this. There'll be another one coming out in the next couple of weeks. Keep an eye on my social media. So I'm at WellDriven on Instagram and Facebook. I'm more on the Instagram than I am on Facebook, but yeah, it should be updates on both. And yeah, hopefully there'll be more stuff coming soon. And if you want to do anything with me, get involved, make any videos, just drop us a message and we'll go from there. And I hope all of you have a lovely weekend. The weather's looking really good. Speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.